Welcome back. Still Sunrise Daily right here on Channels Television. And we have a State of the Nation conversation coming up immediately. Joining us for that conversation is Mr. Akande, former presidential media aide. Thank you for being with us. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Kayla. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Now, I don't even know where to begin. We've had quite a year. Yeah. I mean, when you look at 2024, many people say it's a year that many people would like to forget. Because they would not want to relive, how difficult things were in 2020. But it did have its highs, and it had its lows. Are there some highs that we can pick from 2024?
Well, you have to help me.
I have to help.
I'm sure that there are, but I think for me, it's just the resilience of the Nigerian people. The never say die. The can-do spirits of the Nigerian people. The stories of people like Lukman Ademola, who even though was born in the United Kingdom and is actually, a citizen of that country, chose to wear the Nigerian flag, and say, I am a Nigerian. Stories like that, those are the things that I find very inspiring, and it encourages me that, look, this country is going to be great. Look, there's no way that it's going to be diced and Nigeria is not going to be great. And I believe it's going to be in my lifetime.
I believe so too. I mean, someone said if you take the Nigerian and you strip him or her of tribal sentiments and religious sentiments, you would not be disappointed.
Absolutely.
if you meet the absolute Nigerian. So let's talk about that Nigerian in 2024. What kind of mindset should we be ending the year with, considering the sort of year we've had? And with everything we've heard the president talk about, this media chats he had, gave us the idea that, look, he believes he's on top of the situation. He knows exactly where he's going, understands the pitfalls before we get to El Dorado. So asking Nigerians to be hopeful. Should we be going into 2025 with the mindset of hope, or should the lamentations continue?
Well, I think Nigerians should go into the new year with a new mindset, if that were possible. Namely, that we should stop expecting, quote unquote, our salvation from the political process. Our salvation is not going to come from the political process. We will have to compel the situation that we want on the political process. I think we have, wasted enough time expecting any political messiah.
How do we
none.
How do we impose that process?
So we have to begin to talk to ourselves, first and foremost, about the power that belongs to the people. We need to start having conversations where we are not making requests from those who are in government, but we are asserting the fact that the existence of government is at our behest. The government exists
because we put you there.
Exactly. And that's a big part of it, because there's a lot of distortion, a lot of dysfunction. For instance, many people don't get involved in the civic process. More people have to move into that realm. Otherwise, it's just going to become, it will remain an armchair analysis situation. We keep talking about it in our little corners. We need to move the conversation to the public place. Nigeria is a big village, and the place for the village meeting is in the media, social media, traditional media, public places. We need to begin to change the conversation in those places to say that, look, this is the kind of Nigeria that we must have, and we would not accept anything less. If you look at Nigerians very well, they're not asking for too much. And that is why whenever somebody in government, maybe a governor or even a president or a senator, does something little, There's a lot of cheer. And some of the people will say, oh, but that's a normal thing. It's true, it's a normal thing. But Nigerians are so accommodating. They are so welcoming. And so time has come to say that, look, we will no longer be silent on the fate and the future of our country. And this is the kind of conversation that we need to intensify. And I tell you, having been in Nassau for 8 years, those public conversations have a lot of significance.
I mean, that line between criticism, I want to be able to use the right words.
Right.
So sometimes in our bid to express ourselves and express our frustrations and demand accountability, we find ourselves demarketing our country.
Well, so that is where we have to understand the difference. You see, I mean, wisdom, they say, is in understanding the difference. There's no use demarketing our country at all. And that's why people shouldn't, you shouldn't equate the people who are leaders today in government specifically. They are not Nigeria. They are just in charge for a limited time, maximum 8 years. They're going to leave. You know, some people were there before and now they have left, you know, and you will see that everybody that is in and is out, you know, if you are alive, you will hear what it is that you should have heard when you were inside. You will hear it when you get out. And this is the kind of conversation that we need to have. It's no use, you know, running your country down. What is the use of running your country down? It's completely useless. But you can begin to find new ways to hold leadership accountable. By starting from our narrative. The kind of narrative that are dominant out there must be the type that say that we want transparency. We want accountability. We are not satisfied if the president doesn't seem to be very keen, for instance, on fighting corruption. No, Mr. President, corruption is the major problem of Nigeria. And we are not, it is good that you are fighting it with your policies, wonderful, but we must do more than that because it is corrosive. And if it is not addressed in an all-encompassing way, you are not going to beat it.
Let's talk about the media chat.
Yeah.
So varying opinions. It was soup. It was soup. It had almost every element you can think of inside. And some people got some confidence. From the president's stance, you know, they said he was courageous, standing on his policies. I'm not going to do this. I made this decision. It's the right decision, and I know what I'm doing. You just have to be patient with me. You know. But then there were people who felt, oh wait, it did seem in many ways like he wasn't taking a lot of responsibility for some things, especially when he talks about the stampedes across the country, and many people felt, oh well, why is he blaming organizers? People wouldn't be out here looking for rice and oil if the economy was good, and the economy in many people's minds is bad because of you. You know, the buck stops at your table. I mean, and a plethora of other things. He talks about corruption, talked about security, and quite. What was your takeaway when you listened to that media chat?
All right. So the first thing that I'd like to say is that the president must understand that he has an obligation to be the best president Nigeria has ever had. If he does anything below that, it's a disappointment to his pedigree. He has an obligation. Look, this is the president who was governor of Lagos State, and yes, you know, they didn't do everything in Lagos State, but you cannot deny some of the things that they did in Lagos State. And so, this was the president that was in opposition for how many years? 16 years? And sustained opposition, okay? So he's the one that is very familiar with the anti-federal government narrative. As a matter of fact, he will be the number one, probably him and President Buhari, will be the number one critic of federal government before Buhari got there. And now it is his turn. So it is important for us to keep telling him that look, we know that you are competent. We know that you are a confident politician. Everybody knows that. You can be in charge of the room as he was at that press conference. You know, to many of us, that is not a surprise. The question is, what is going to happen when you are out of there? What is going to be your legacy? So you have to pay attention to that question. So I like I like his confidence. Although I wish that our colleagues could have, taken him to task a lot more.
Just so you can, Senator Shehu Sani.
Yes.
Speaking up about it, said it was a chat, not an interrogation. It was supposed to be a chat, not an interrogation. Well, and what many people are asking for is an interrogation. Meanwhile, what he called for was a chat.
Was a chat, yeah. And we can talk about a lot of the things that couldn't make it very the kind of exchange that you expect. But you must give credit to the fact that Mr. Bayo Onanuga was able to get the president off his couch and say, you have to do an interview with the media. We have to give Mr. Onanuga a big kudos. And of course, the president for agreeing to do it. And we hope that he's going to do more of this, But to my main point is that, look, Mr. President he was in command of the chat. No doubt about it. Markwe and Babajide did quite a bit of push, on one or two issues, very commendable. But at the point where Nigerians are today, I'm not sure that the president has been able to build, or I'm not sure the president has made a significant progress in building the trust with the Nigerian people with that interview. There is a start, because at least now, is making himself vulnerable. Dr. Abati said that they didn't tell him more questions and stuff like that. Excellent. So it's a good beginning. But I'm not sure that some of the answers, yes, these answers show that the president is confident, he knows what he's doing, but are his responses, are they building the trust of the people? So when they asked him about corruption, his response was like a desiccant. Yes, your programs are doing that thing, must grant that, but the president must understand the corrosive nature of corruption. And it's not just financial. It's in our moral attitude, what we have become as a people. So it's a deep-rooted. Look, people don't want to queue he said that. People don't want to queue at the bus stop. People don't want to, they don't want to follow the rules. Everybody wants to scale that tells you that it's a deep-rooted problem, and you need to be able to show a deterrence. And if you don't go after it deliberately, intentionally, that will not happen. So we're not going to solve the problem of corruption by providing loans to university students, which is an excellent program, by the way. But that is not how we're going to stop corruption, because we need to stop corruption urgently. We're not going to stop corruption by creating consumer credit. That is an excellent program, and I commend the president for it, but it's not going to end corruption. Corruption is so big in this country that's one of the reasons why President Buhari won the election in 2014, because Nigerians were tired, but we are still dealing with it. So president must understand that. And that's the critical takeaway that I see in the interview. But the fact that he came out, made himself vulnerable, kudos to him and kudos to Mr. Onanuga.
Let's see what Ayo has to say.
I'm wondering what you think could have been done differently in the entire process of that conversation that was had with the president. There are some who have criticized the fact that, look, there are too many people on that panel. 7 people asking questions for a media chat of just 1 hour. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, thank you, Hayo, and Merry Christmas. I also, when I saw when I got information actually that there were going to be 7 journalists in the room, I felt that was quite unwieldy, and since the president was only going to give 1 hour, honestly, 2 would have been ideal, a male and a female. probably you and Otitoju and the Mapogun would have done an excellent job. Just leave the two of them with the president for 1 hour. It would have done more to build some kind of confidence and trust in what the president is doing. Like I said, the president was able to demonstrate confidence, and I'm not surprised. The guy knows what he's doing, without a doubt. What he lacks and what he needs to work on is to instill trust in the people so that the people can see that is with them. I mean, last edition of Inside Sources on Sunday last week, the second to the last, Chief Edwin Clark did say that the president needed to talk to his people, make himself available. And then on Monday we had the media chat. Excellent. But, president needs to understand that he must speak not only as a confident politician, not only as an astute administrator, but he must speak as a Nigerian who had been out there in the trenches with the people. He must carry them along in that spirit. He hasn't been able to do that so far. Well,
instructive one there. But Mr. Akande, there's something that I think the president has also said, from time to time, maybe not in public, I don't know, but the fact that, and it's a fact that you also know, the CNC or acting CNC can only do as much. It's just one individual. Government runs in a particular system with a particular orientation in its head. So it calls to the question that, okay, so while the president says he knows what he's doing, then he has an immediate staff around him, and then he has ministers. You mentioned the fact that he was at some point governor in Lagos State. That's the point when he was one of those periods when he had a media, I don't know whether to call it media chat or an interview or interrogation, at the time. I happened to have been in the studios in those days, running the console for him was a radio studio. So he came into the radio studios to have interviews and interactions with the people. Uncensored phone calls, I dare say. I was in the studio at those times. But one thing that he did then, he would have his commissioners around him. And if anyone asked any question around something that the commissioner was doing, he asked the commissioner to come and speak to it right there in the studio. And the commissioners were all there in the studio. Do you think that kind of thing would also help? That the ministers should come and answer questions, when issues are raised about whatever it is that concerns their immediate ministries?
Yeah. So I will advise, that a governor, of a state would do that. Have a few of his ministers around him. But a president of a country as big as Nigeria, and it's not the same that the box top at your table as a governor, but everybody thinks that, okay, there's a president over a governor. So I won't recommend for a president to bring his team to a press conference. He could bring his team to a town or a meeting with the people, a few of this. But in a press conference, it's a presidential system. We want to hold the president accountable directly. So I would say that, yes, as a governor, you are dealing more at the local level, but at the federal level, and in national government, I would suggest that, let's just deal with the president, because there are important, I don't want to call it an interrogation, but, not interrogation in the legal sense, but when you have an interview with the president, you want to be able to get as much as you can, which is why, to your point, 7 people is just too large. It's not a lotto, it's not a lottery, we don't need too many people in the room, although you understand why that is also so, because so that they don't say, oh, why did you pick this and you didn't pick that? But ultimately, at the end of the day, what is most important is that for the people that are managing the media and the image of the president, they want the president to look good, but they must also think of the ultimate outlook, which is, are we getting some chemistry between the president and the people? And it starts from the vulnerability. which we are saying that thank you that you brought him out, but it has to be a little bit more intense. It has to be a little bit more intense. So at the federal level, I think it's better to just have Mr. President do his thing, especially when it's somebody that knows his onions, like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Well, good thing. You have already made another proposition to Mr. Onanuga and the president's other teams. Presidential town hall. I'm looking forward to that one. But you know, there's something that you also that I think might also be should be considered. Question to be asked is, do you think all the salient issues were addressed? For instance, at some point, the president said, "Name the minister that is not working." In my head, immediately, I said, "Hey, power ministry. I'm not feeling it the way I should be feeling it," but no one said anything like that. So then we heard that issues around, you know, agriculture was spaded as opposed to looking at some other, you know, deeper issues than my thoughts. And then I think at some point I also expected that issues around collaboration between the federal and state governments would be raised, but I'm not sure I felt that. So do you think the salient, critical issues were raised at that meeting, at that parley with the president, that could, as you said, have built a little more trust?
Yes. I mean, I certainly agree with you. And when the president challenged the journalists in the room to name one minister, I think Dr. Abati, you know, came up with the name of Wike, you know, and he just gave the president a very easy opportunity because, look, you may not like Wike, and I have had occasions to call Wike out, you know, but the problem with Wike is not that Wike is not, but Wike is doing stuff. You know, I live in Abuja, so I can't, even if I don't like Wike at all, I cannot deny, you know, what Wike is doing. Yes, there is more to be done, and there are controversial issues, but Wike is not the sitting duck, really. You're right. You know, somebody like the Minister of Power, you know, he should have been, and you analyze it. We've had 12, and know that the minister himself is the cause of the collapse of the grids for that 12 times. The minister is not the cause, but when you have that kind of national embarrassment, heads must roll so that people know that it's not going to be business as usual. The minister himself we've not had the minister himself firing anybody over this matter. It's all bunches of excuses. 12 times this year. That is the easy option that he didn't give the president. You know, but hey, at least it wasn't as if nobody came up with any name, and the president was able to also explain. And also on the question of collaboration with the state, I think part of the conversation ought to be on the responsibility of the governors in this matter. The key matters that bother the people is agricultural, food security, education, and health. Those things are those responsibilities are concurrent. And so, I mean, there should have been a conversation of, Mr. President, what do you think about these things? What is the federal government doing? I agree with you entirely. Look at it, for instance, Ayo. The UN has said 30 million more Nigerians are going to be food insecure in 2025. 30 million more. That means they're not going to be able to eat. Food insecurity is going to grow in Nigeria by 30%. That is a very bleak prediction.
And listening to him, I don't remember any actual statement from the president addressing this dynamic.
Yeah, it wasn't raised. You know, and that, you know,
it wasn't raised at all.
It wasn't raised at the media charts. And, and that's the point. And that is one area where the federal and the state government ought to collaborate. You know, and there is a lot that those governors can do that they have not done. You know, so it would have been good to hear the president, you know, on maybe his own frustrations or what he's doing about it. That's an important conversation.
Scoring himself excellent.
Well, you know, I think Mark did a good job, you know, and I think...
Are you scoring yourself, Mr. President? Shouldn't the Nigerian people be scoring you?
Yeah, you know, and I must say that Otitoju, in fact, Mark first and Otitoju, they came out as the real journalists in that interview. Excellent job by both of them.
He shouldn't have scored himself.
Absolutely. And you will notice that after that, he started saying that, well, they said that, you know, right there in the interview. And that's the power of the spoken word. Because, look, these our leaders, they are human beings. We must understand that they are human beings. When you speak, and you speak objectively, I assure you that it gets to where it ought to. Right there in that interview, after Markwe talked about, you know, are you scoring yourself? Some of the things he said later, he said that they said I'm scoring myself.
Yes. All right, well, we do have to let it go. There's never enough time to speak with you, but thank you so much, Akande, former presidential media aide and host of Inside Sources right here on Channels Television. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Happy Boxing Day and a Merry Christmas to you and yours. All right, let's take a few messages here. Pastor Law Fasi that says the extravagant display of wealth by some ministers of the gospel is concerning and should be done away with. Jesus Christ during his earthly ministrations took care of the flock with resources from the same members who were privileged than others. And of course, Festus, we're seeing both of your messages as well. We'll try and see if we can get to them by the end of the week. I want to thank you all for being a part of the program. Have a great day ahead. Happy Boxing Day. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.
And if it is unboxing, please have a happy one as well. I'm Makinde.